Hey everybody, it's time for dinner with Debbie. Yes, it is Tuesday night. It's 6:20 here on the East Coast, and I'm a little bit late again starting my meal. It's just what happens in the summertime, I think. It stays late so long and you just lose track of time. So I'm here tonight. I'm extremely grateful that you guys are joining me. I'm really excited about what I'm making today. It is grilled shrimp with lentils and yogurt sauce, because you know that I've been trying to incorporate a little bit more of a Mediterranean diet into our dining experience here at home. It's supposed to be healthier and all that stuff, so giving it a whirl. So adding things more like the lentils into my diet, and I've been pleasantly surprised to see how easy they are to incorporate into the diet. Of course, I'm never going to give up my pasta or my potatoes completely, but I really do like throwing these legumes into the mix occasionally. So I have a few things already prepared to start with, so I'm going to get started. I have a wide pan. This one has a lid. I got one of these ceramic coated. This is the Williams-Sonoma ceramic coated saute pan. I've been really, really pleased with it so far. I have been babying it, I will tell you. I mean, I'm not going to it says you can put it in the dishwasher. I'm like, no, I'm not putting it in the dishwasher. I'm going to hand wash this and clean it and, just baby that surface, because it does wear out over time. I'm going to put the heat on medium high. One of the things with these ceramic coated pans, they do heat up pretty quickly and they hold the heat really well. So I've noticed that I have to turn the heat down a little bit more than what I would have done normally. And what I'm going to do, I have a mixture of spices. They're all seeds, which is kind of fun. But they do get a little bit messy when they are you kind of fry them to release their essences. So I've got some cumin seed, some mustard seed, and some coriander seed. And I'm going to start heating up a little bit of olive oil. This is just my regular California olive ranch. I'm just going to put a big splash of that in the pan and let that heat up a little bit. And what will happen, I'm going to put, let's see how much of each of these. I think it's like a teaspoon or a tablespoon. It's a teaspoon of each of these seeds in here. And what you'll notice is that they're going to start, especially the mustard seeds, are going to start popping and they're going to spray. So what I have also is my little screen. So once I throw these seeds into my saute pan, I'm going to throw this screen on here so that I don't have a big mess, because I learned that when I was testing this out. And I ended up having like little exploded mustard seeds all over the place. So while I'm waiting for this to heat up a little bit, I'm just going to swirl my oil around the pan. Now that's something I could not do if I had an induction cooktop. The electrical, like you have to have the connection between the pan and the heating unit in order for it to heat up. But I am going to tell you a little bit about what I'm drinking tonight. This is a Vermentino. It is an Italian grape, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it later, but I need a little swig. That's good. That's actually from Barbersville Vineyard down near Charlottesville, and there's a really interesting story about that Vermentino grape and this wine, which I will tell you later. All right, so this is heating up, and I don't really like to use measurements, so a teaspoon is like that much, give or take. So I'm going to put that in the pan. I'm going to put the mustard seeds in last. I've learned my lesson. Here are the coriander seeds, again, about the same amount. And then our mustard seeds. Now, some mustard seeds are black. I couldn't find black, so I have, these are yellow. And I don't really think there's that much of a difference between them in terms of flavor. So I'm just going to make sure that they're all covered in the oil and put my screen on top. And it will only take a few seconds. really, for them to start popping. It will almost sound like popcorn. And I can put the lids back on my spices while I'm waiting for that. Hey Mary, how are you tonight? So I'm going to put those away. Oop, and I can hear them starting to pop. Yeah. So now that those are starting to pop, it says that's toasting them for about 30 seconds and they start to pop. So then what I have is very finely chopped onions. I'm going to throw them in. And that will also help keep the mustard seeds from popping out because the onions will hold them down. Now that's about 1/4 cup of finely chopped onions. And I need some garlic. And now I'm using the bottled garlic. You can chop your own garlic, but I just didn't have time for that today. So I always use more than what they say. I'm going to use like 2 tablespoons. And we're going to cook this until the onion is translucent, which won't take that long. But I just want to incorporate these toasted spices. Let me see if I can give you a look-see here. One of these days I'll invest in one of those kind of like camera holders so that it like sits on top of the stove. But here, I think you guys can see this. It smells really good. Really good. Get that screen out of the way. I don't need that now. Okay. So one of the things that this recipe called for, which I hadn't done before, which was a grated tomato. And I'll be honest with you, the first time I made this, I didn't feel like grating a tomato. So I just used crushed tomatoes. I always keep like boxes of those palmy crushed and chopped tomatoes in my pantry. So I just used that and it worked fine. But today I had gone to the farmer's market and I had some fresh tomatoes this time of year when they're really coming out with the tons of fresh tomatoes. So I have I used 2 Roma tomatoes and I use those because they have more meat on them than a regular tomato. And I literally just cut the tops off and used a box grater and grated them. And I have this really nice pulpy tomato. And so, I don't want to make sure I don't miss anything. All right, so the onion is translucent. I'm going to add this tomato. Give that a whirl. So if you don't happen to have fresh tomatoes, use what's in your pantry. Boy, this really smells good, guys. I do wish that there was a way that you guys could smell this. Okay, so we're going to let the liquid evaporate a little bit. And then once that happens, I'm going to add 1 cup of lentils. So here's 1 cup. I'm using black lentils. Hey, Charles. The first time I made this, when I was testing it out, I didn't have black lentils in my pantry, but I had red lentils. So I used red lentils the first time, and I'll tell you what, that tasted great too. So red lentils are a little bit softer, a little bit sweeter than a black lentil, and they cook a little bit faster. So you'll see these black lentils are going to go for about 20 minutes. And, I think the red lentils probably only needed like 15 minutes in order to get soft. So that's the kind of nice thing about lentils, is that they don't require like hours of boiling like some of the other dried beans. All right, so this is looking pretty good here. So I'm gonna sprinkle my cup of black lentils in here and give it a mix up. And there's just so many cuisines that use lentils now. I mean, not now, but so there's so many good recipes to try with lentils. I really, really would encourage you to try it. They're so good for you. But I will tell you, it's a lot of fiber. So maybe start off slow. If your body's not used to having a lot of fiber, it might be a lot to subject it to a whole lot of fiber all at once, if you know what I mean. So, all right, so I've got the lentils added in, and I'm going to add, I have 2 cups of seafood stock. There. And I'm going to turn the heat up a sec just so I can get it to boil. Once I have it boiling, I'm going to turn it down and let it simmer. And I don't even think I need to cover these. Yeah, I don't. I don't even need to use the lid. So that's cool. Cheers to that. So while this is going, it's not going to take me 20 minutes to grill the shrimp. I have 12 shrimp here. I chose to do the deveined, peeled with tail on shrimp. And the reason, the first time I did it, I had the tail off. They were completely shelled, and that was fine. But I think that having the shell on the shrimp gives a little bit more flavor to the shrimp. Hey James, how are you? I bet Nikki's watching too. So I decided to go with the shrimp with the tail on because I think it's going to give a little bit more flavor. And yeah, I know it's a little bit annoying to, have to serve them with the tail on and eat it like that. But, it's just something I'm going to deal with. So one of the other things I'm going to do while this is, yeah, Nikki's there. Hey. So this is just getting heated up. It's not quite boiling yet, so I'm just going to keep an eye on that. But the other thing I'm going to make, I'm going to hold off on grilling the shrimp, but I'm going to make a caprese salad, which is like one of my favorite things to make in the summertime because A, we have a ton of tomatoes and they taste really good and I want to use them. And basil, plus I went to the farmer's market, so I have tomatoes, I have basil, I have all these, all the things. So I went and got some nice mozzarella. I like to get the pre-sliced kind. I know that's kind of a cop-out, but, it's just so much prettier when it comes sliced already. So I have that, and that'll come together in a jiffy, and it's perfect for while the lentils are cooking to, prep some other things. You can even do some dishes and what have you so that you don't have as much to do. But, this is a pretty easy, cleanup for this meal because we've got the one larger saucepan here. Hey, Josh. We have the one larger saucepan here that the lentils are going to go in, and then I have a smaller one that I'm going to do the shrimp in. So, I want to get back to the wine. So let me grab the bottle. So those of you from Virginia know that the Charlottesville area of Virginia is very famous for wine. And Barboursville Vineyard is probably one of the best known vineyards in the Charlottesville area. I've been there, a couple of times. It's beautiful. I haven't been there in a while. I need to get back there. This is the 2019 Virginia Vermentino Reserve. And what is really interesting, the dog just took off barking because I put the bottle down on the counter and she thinks that somebody's at the door. But I'm going to turn this down. Ara! It's a crazy dog. So, the Vermentino grape is actually Italian grape. And the winemaker at Barboursville is actually from Italy and wanted to do Italian grapes. So he, started planting this grape. The grape is really native to Sardinia, which is very hot and dry and kind of rocky. It's kind of like a little rocky island. So with the slope and the heat, and the soil, this Vermentino grape just really grew really well in Sardinia. And he thought when he came to Barbersville that it would grow very well in this spot too. And he was right. I have to say, drinking this does not taste like a New World wine. This tastes like an Old World wine. It's very, very nice. So it's got just enough acid in it to feel light and bright, but it also has like a nice finish to it, and it's perfect for this shrimp dish. And I think if you're able to get your hands on, like I actually ordered this online through, I think Timeless Wines might have been who I ordered this wine from, but it is totally worth ordering this wine and having it delivered. They'll even do it with a cool pack. So, because it's hot as heck and you don't want to boil your wine and it's delivery. So spend the $10 with the cool pack, and I would highly recommend you ordering this wine. Info for this wine will be in the comments, and probably if I can find a link for it, I'll be putting that in there. And you might notice that this wine is done completely in stainless steel. So I am using my beautiful unoaked Chardonnay glass. Yes, I am that girl who uses the varietal glasses for all of my wines. I do think it makes a difference, and I just love this glass. I love how it feels in my hand. I love the whole experience of it. And if you're doing this for enjoyment and for education and for matching with your foods, this is definitely Josh, big ass glass. It's really not that big ass of a glass. It just looks big when I put it up to the camera. It looks really big. But see, when it's back here with me, it's much smaller. See, it's a tiny glass. So, all right. So I'm going to set a timer for these lentils because they're simmering now, and they've been simmering for a few minutes. So let me just do that real quick. So then we'll move on and do something else. So while I'm doing that, the one little thing I am going to do to prep these shrimp is I'm going to spread them out on the plate, and I'm going to salt and pepper them. Now, and I could have them on like a, like a cutting board, but I had the cutting board already for the caprese salad, and I have about 12 shrimps here because I'm just making this for Mark and I. Actually, the recipe calls for 12 shrimp. Like, you're only supposed to use like 3 shrimp per person. And I was like, that's like an appetizer. 3 shrimp? Come on. So here I'm into the salt. I've got a little kosher salt. I'm going to sprinkle that on. And I've got my pepper grinder. There. So now they're seasoned. I'm going to let them sit a little bit. Hey, Allison, how are you? How's Florida? Bet it's really freaking hot. Okay, that's good. This is good. Moving on to the caprese salad. I have all the ingredients here behind me. Here. One of the things I like to do, especially in the summertime when I have fresh herbs, is like I kind of put them in a vase. Why just stick them in the fridge? They're kind of like they're kind of attractive. Adds a little bit more green to my counter. Plus, I think they last longer if they're sitting in some water, as opposed to just like sitting in my fridge. So I decided to go with these yummy looking orange tomatoes or yellow tomatoes. I just thought they looked so good. And I'm going to be plating them. I have this little like ceramic cutting board with my initial on it. So that's what I'm going to be setting these up on. So I'm going to set that aside while I do the prep. Oh, one of the other things I did is I got some fancy olive oil. So this is the Delalo extra virgin 100% Italian olive oil. So this is their private Reserva, and I thought I would try this because when you're eating something where it's not just being mixed in, it's not just being cooked with, it's going to be really, it's a highlight and it's going to be an important part of the dish. So I wanted it to be as nice as possible. So of course I wash this fruit. What I'm going to do is core the tomatoes first. And I'm sure you guys have made caprese salad before, but it's kind of fun. And one of the things I like about getting the tomatoes from either from your own garden, if you're planting, or getting them from the farmer's market, is that you don't have like, commercial grown tomatoes have like this like stemmy like inside part that I just can't stand. It's really like, it's tough. So these do not. You can see these are going to be good all the way through. So I just cut out the core, and then I'm going to cut these into nice thick slices. Oh, and they're so pretty. They're so pretty. This reminds me of like when I was a kid and my grandma would have her garden, and we would get tomatoes right out of the garden and eat them like apples practically. And sometimes we would just have a tomato sandwich. It was just like a big thick slice of tomato with salt on it on bread, and it was just so yummy. There's just nothing that to me just is like the definition of summer. So these are all sliced up, and I have I cheated with my mozzarella and got the pre-sliced, so that's easier too. So I'm opening up that package, which my hands are a little bit wet, so it's a little harder. There we go. I'm also keeping an eye on my lentils to see if I need to. Sometimes you need to move them to a smaller burner if they're boiling too much. And these are right on the cusp of that. But I think they're in good shape, so I'm just giving them a stir. They smell really good. All right, so basically we have our ingredients here all prepped. We've got the tomato sliced, we've got the mozzarella sliced, I've got my basil here that I'm just going to be pulling off the leaves. So I'm going to take my plate. Hey, Penny. It's nice to hear from you, Penny. I haven't seen you in forever. All right, so I'm going to push this aside. I have to tell Mark I need a bigger island for my for my cooking. He's going to kill me. So what I'm going to do is just arrange these in layers. So I'm going to do a slice of tomato, slice of a little basil leaf, a slice of mozzarella. Oh my gosh, it's like my favorite thing. Cheese, the center of my universe. And then I'm going to do my basil like between every layer. So there'll be basil on both sides of be sandwiching the cheese. And some of these leaves are big and some of them are smaller. It's all good. And it's really cool because I can just pick the leaves off as I'm doing this. So what I think I'm going to do is have like 2 rows of this. Some people do it in a circle, but I think I'm going to do this in 2 rows. And, you know, for 2 tomatoes. Now, I've also made this as an appetizer kind of thing, like for tailgates. On skewers, which was really cool. And I did that. I didn't use whole tomatoes. I used like cherry tomatoes, and I put them on a skewer, and I used like the little mozzarella balls and then put little pieces of basil in between. and so people could pick them up and eat them, and that went over like awesomely. So these are going to be so pretty because we're not they would be so pretty actually in the red tomato, of course, but this is kind of a cool way of doing it. And what would be even more cool is if I had like a red tomato and a yellow tomato and you could alternate the colors. That would be really cool. So depending on how fancy you want to get or what you have available to you, you can just go to town. And these are really meaty. Look how beautiful that slice of tomato is. It's just really meaty, not a lot of seeds in there. It's just going to be really, really delicious. I've got another slice of mozzarella and another basil leaf and a tomato and basil. And finishing up with that. So before I drizzle the olive oil on here, I'm just going to show you. Look how pretty. Now, it would be pretty if I was alternating yellow and orange too. I will admit. Oh, look, there's a little bit of mozzarella cheese left. Don't tell. Yep. The last step in the caprese salad is drizzling with the olive oil. So, I'm going to get my cutting board out of the way. I'm just going to do a little drizzle. So pretty. I'm going to wash my hands real quick, and then I'm going to do a little salt and pepper on here, and that'll be ready to go. I'm going to give the lentils a little stir. Already these lentils have absorbed almost all of the water. My timer says 10 minutes, but I'm going to keep an eye on them because they were simmering before I set the timer. Okay. And get rid of my basil. Let me get out my salt box here and let's give them a little sprinkle. There's just something about salt. And I'm just doing, like, these are like the tiniest pinches because I really don't want to over salt them, but it really does bring out the flavor. So, and then a little bit of fresh ground pepper. I just changed the battery in this pepper grinder, and boy, it sure does work a lot better. All right, and this is ready. I can put this aside. This is ready and ready to eat. All right, so we're ready to move on to our shrimp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my saute pan. You can see here the lentils are still going. I'm going to put my another burner on for them on the other side. So I can bring my smaller, this is also from Williams-Sonoma, but it's a different brand. It is called Green Pan. And this is also a ceramic coated saute pan. It's also pretty awesome to use. I've loved it. I've loved using it. And it is so non-stick and so easy to use. I can't even believe it. And it's really easy to clean up. So no need for me to go take a chance and put it on the put it in the dishwasher. That seems like a sacrilege. So I'm going to throw just a tiny bit of olive oil in here. You don't need a lot because it's super non-stick. And we already salted and peppered our shrimps. So I'm just going to let that heat up. Hey, is Jimmy watching? My sister-in-law Jen is watching. I hope my brother's watching. Jim. I know he likes to cook. He should be doing a video, especially for grilling. So yeah, that's starting to heat up. That's really good. Okay. So again, this feels hot, so I'm going to start placing my shrimp in here. Move that out of the way. And one nice thing about having the tails on is that I can kind of use them as like little handles. And the one thing that's very easy to do with shrimp is overcook them. So you want to keep your eye on them, because if you overcook a shrimp, it's really tough and rubbery, and that's not a pleasant experience. But the good thing about them is that not only do they cook really fast, so it's great for a weeknight, but they're also, you know, good for you. They have good fats. Get rid of that pan. It's easy to tell when they're done because they turn pink, right? Even the shells turn pink. So, and actually I can see, I have the burner up on high right now just to get that oil heated. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on this. So I have my tongs here, silicone coated, so that I don't scrape my pan. And when these bad boys start turning pink, I'm going to flip them over. Josh, what did you write? Penny loves your wine glass. Yes, Penny, it's a beautiful wine glass. I'm gonna put a link in there for this wine glass. You can buy them as a set of two. I bought it on Amazon. It is a Riedel unoaked Chardonnay glass, and it's just a beautiful glass. It's got a very thin stem. Again, I do not put these in the dishwasher. They say that they can go in the dishwasher, but I'm like, I don't trust everything I read. Let's put it that way. And I want them to stay nice. And these glasses are made specifically for white wines that are done in stainless steel. And it has to do with the shape of the glass and how when you sip it, where it puts the wine on your tongue. But I've noticed it does make a difference. So these are starting to turn, so I'm going to flip one and see what it looks like. Oh yeah. So this is not something to do if you're also like running laundry or having to do it. Like this is like something, like at least for the shrimp part, this is like 10 minutes where you need to pay attention to what you're doing here, because it really does not take very long at all for these to overcook. And once I get these all flipped over, I'll show you what they look like. They're so delightful looking. And of course, they smell delicious. I have a feeling that 12 shrimp are going to go pretty fast. You see how golden and just really good looking they are. So that is in just being cooked in my regular, typical olive oil. I didn't use a special olive oil. And I'm going to flip. Okay. So the last bit of things that you need to do to get this dish ready to be plated. I'm going to turn this heat down. Is do the yogurt sauce. And when I say yogurt sauce, it's basically yogurt. So I have a container of plain Greek yogurt. This is Fage. This is the 2% milk fat. I don't like to do the completely like zero. Let me fix this. I don't like to do the zero fat. It's just not, there needs to be some fat in order for it to taste good, I think. But I'll show you what one plate will look like. I've got my yogurt container open. And I'm going to turn the heat off and remove the shrimp from the heat because they're done. And I'm going to move my lentils back over. Because guess what? I think my lentils are done. Yeah, they look really good. And there's just one little bit more of chopping to do. And I will show you what that is. I have some mint, and actually I just put these in a cup. So I don't need a ton of it, but of course you have to buy a whole bunch. So I'm going to take some, and a lot of people have this like growing wild in their yard. So lucky you guys to have like some easy to and quick to get to mint leaves. But they do grow like weeds and they spread like crazy. I'm grabbing my knife. I'm just going to take a few of these mint leaves and give them a quick chop. And you'll see how quick this comes together. Oop, the timer went off, so let me go turn that off. So I have my plate. I'm going to scoop up some lentils. And as you can see, as the lentils cooked, they turned a little bit lighter brown. I'm also going to take a sizable dollop of the yogurt. And see, when you get the kind that has a little bit of fat in it, it's got a little bit more substance to it. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit creamier. And I'm going to put like a little bit of a indent in here, like a little smear. I didn't do that very chefy, but you can kind of see how I did that. Then I'm going to take a little bit of my chopped mint. And I'm going to put the chopped mint on the lentils too. Why not? And then I'm going to do a little drizzle of the good olive oil on top of my yogurt. Just a little bit. And then to finish it off, I'm going to put my shrimps on there. I will do it with the 3 shrimps like it said in the recipe. By the way, this recipe came from the Flavors app. The full recipe, along with the ingredients and the links that I told you about, will all be in the comments when I post it tomorrow. But here you go. It's a beautiful dish. It tastes delicious. As you can see, it comes together in a jiff. I really hope you give it a shot, give it a whirl. I highly recommend it. And if you do, give me a holler. I'd like to know how you did it, how you liked it. So you guys have a great night, and I will see you next week.